What is up, everybody, and welcome to the REIL Talks Podcast. My name is Mike Singletary.
And I am Chen, and we are going to be your hosts. And what we're going to do is break down what it takes to live life on your terms through entrepreneurship, specifically real estate investing.
So we're going to hit it hard, the good, the bad, and the real, because that climb, as any entrepreneur knows, is never smooth. So let's get real.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the REIL Talks Podcast. This is one of your co-hosts, Frank, and I'm here with Mike Singletary. Say what's up, Mike.
What is up?
We got a great guest for you today. I think as long as you've been in the real estate game, you will naturally fall into this category of being interested in commercial real estate, more specifically investing in apartments. And who we have here today with us is the CEO and founder of Kahuna Investments, Mr. Corey Peterson. He has actually acquired over $225 million in real estate nationwide and raised over $95 million in private equity. And yes, we are going to dive into how he has done that, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And he is the best-selling author of Copy Your Way to Success. He's done us a huge favor, is going to offer you guys that as a free gift. So be sure to stay tuned till the end to see how you're going to get that. And Standing on the Shoulders of Giants, another great book, and host of the Multi-Family Legacy podcast. His company's mission is to partner with passive investors to create award-winning apartment communities families are proud to call home. Now, that is the scripted intro. What we don't know and what I want to reveal is that this guy is called the Big Kahuna. This guy is white as can be, but his soul is Hawaiian. His wife is part Hawaiian. His kids are part Hawaiian, and that's what he eats, breathes, and lives. And it's really amazing kind of how he translates that into his life. You might have also seen him on the big ticker at the NASDAQ, because he was at an opportunity to speak there, educate a lot of big wigs out there and show them how to get involved in this business, more importantly, how to do it successfully. So with that, I'm excited to bring on Mr. Corey Peterson. Welcome to the show.
Gosh, my ego in this is so big right now, Frank. You have just made me feel so amazing.
Dude, that was awesome, man.
Yeah, let me talk about all the dirt. Let me talk about all the crap that happens. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, man, like we've known each other for a few years now, and I've always, I've seen your growth patterns, and it's really exciting to kind of see where you are today, what you got planned. I'd love to kind of dive into that. But before we do, I want to kick things off, kind of set the tone, because I know a lot of people out there are saying apartments are awesome. Cash flow is crazy. If you get started in it, it's easy to buy your first one. It's easy to raise money. Is that true? Though, tell our audience, those who are listening, give us the dirty.
It's all BS. It's all BS. It's hard, right? Like anything else. Like, listen, experts make money and journalists make excuses. And so to become an expert in anything, it requires an enormous amount of focus, an enormous amount of work and effort. But when you apply it right, Frank, yes, ultimately you get to have your cake and eat it too, right? I got into real estate for two reasons, right? Time and money. And I wanted them both. And I know a lot of people that have one, and they don't, very few people that I know have both. And so what I found that is real estate and primarily commercial real estate is the lever that I found that can give you what I call sunsets and palm trees. But listen, it is a hard fought road of being excellent and learning and earning and growth. And there's the 4 steps backwards, and you get 1 step forward, and then you get your, someone gut punches you. So it is not perfect, but is it worth it? Man, I'll tell you, I don't think there's anything else that I could possibly do that I love so much, right? To this day, I love real estate. I love waking up. I love coming to work. And I love the freedom, because I do get to, now I still work. I love working, but I can choose when I want to work. And I just base it on my calendar. So nothing happens by accident. It does create work, but and I'm happy to get into some of my story, my journey, and then also like the good, bad, and the ugly of how this business really works.
Let's do it, man. I mean, let's go into your journey because I know a little bit about it, and you've had quite the journey. I don't know if it started at this. I know you were a car salesman at one time, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
it went to a couple other stages, and then
yeah.
now here. Tell us
I'm like
about
a
that,
beautiful swan, man. Like,
yeah.
I was an ugly duckling in the beginning. Like, listen. So I'll give you guys the short version of the story, but it's really like 22 years ago. That's when my life changed forever, right? I was a used car salesman, and my mom was married to this man named Bruce, and I call him Bruce Wayne. Okay, he wasn't Batman, but Bruce had a lot of money. And he actually lived in Hawaii, had a house in Hawaii. And so my mom invites me to go. And she says, I'm like, can my girlfriend go too? And are you paying? Because I'm broke. I'm a used car salesman. And so she said yes to both. So my girlfriend, now my wife of 20 years, we got to go to Hawaii, and particularly Kauai, which is the Garden Island, which is the most beautiful. And lo and behold, Bruce had a house right on the beach. And this is the first time that I really saw wealth, guys. And like, I'm not talking about like no BS. I'm talking about like he ain't checking his phone. He ain't worried about anything. And it's like, let's go out to dinner. Like it was different, right? Time and money. Bruce had them both for sure. And Shelly and I, for the first time, we walked that morning, because if you're not a morning person, you will be when you get into Hawaii because of the time change, right?
Right.
So all of a sudden you're waking up, you're watching the sun come up. And we watched the sun come up. We walked this cove, and it was like the scales of life dropped from my eyes. I wanted to be successful. I just didn't have it at that point, right? And I remember looking over at Bruce's house, and I'm like, what does this guy do? So I asked him, and guess what he said? He said the magic words. Said he was in real estate and that he owned apartments, right? Now, I wish the story got better. Bruce was a grumpy old man, and my mom was really pretty, okay? Don't judge my mom. She got me to Hawaii. Bruce was never going to teach me how to do the business, but I left the island thinking, though, he was the big kahuna, right? He had time and money, unequivocally. And so about 6 months later, I read the Purple Book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I was like, oh my God, that's what Bruce is, a real estate investor. And at that point, that's when I made the shift. I'm like, that's what I want to do. And so for 2 years, I read every book I could on the shelves at Barnes and Nobles every day, right? And in 2005, I was ready to do it. And I said, I got to make a company. What do I call it? And all I could think about was, I want to be the big kahuna. I want to be the big kahuna. So I called my company Kahuna Investments.
Yeah.
Now, that was a great start. And like every good start, you take a couple forward steps back. So I got into real estate with a home equity line of credit, $25,000 of home equity line of credit. I did 3 successful fix and flips in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so I was like, I'm so good, I quit my job, right? Because I was a real estate guy or a car guy. So I quit. It's not hard to quit the car dealership. Trust me, it's pretty easy. so I quit it. But now I'm making no income. And so I flipped some money. I made, I had some money. I had about $100,000 that I'd made. I was like, oh man, this is a lot of money. So then I started like, I got to start buying rentals. So I bought 3 rental properties, and I put about $30,000 in each property to buy it and renovate it and get them ready. And so now I've quit my job, and I'm making about $200 cash flow per property. So 2, 4, 6. And I'm like, oh, I can't live off of that. So my first real roadblock happened right there, right in the beginning. And I'm like, I don't even know how to get past it. And so what do? I go back and get another job. But this time, I had a friend that was a financial advisor, and he was with Edward Jones. And I was like, dude, do you have to have a degree to get that thing? Because like I barely met out of high school. And he said, no, all you do is pass the test. I was like, awesome, right? So I never studied so hard. I actually interviewed, and he goes, they're looking for business owners. And I was like, oh, I own Kahuna Investments. I'm a business owner. for like 6 months, but I'm a car salesman, so I know how to sell it. Right. And so I sold my way into Edward Jones, and I studied so hard, and I made like a 73 to pass the test. You got to have a 70 to get an actual license, right? So I made a 73. And so I studied just enough, right? That was in like 2005, but I didn't know looking back, probably the best thing that ever happened to me was hitting that first roadblock, right? Because what Edward Jones taught me was the way of money. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, what people invested in. And truly what it opened me up to is how much money's out there, right? And that people, they're getting 6 to 8%. Like that's the every financial advisor will tell you what's a solid return, 6 to 8%, right? In this, blended portfolio and yada, 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 based on your risk tolerance, right? And so I drank the Kool-Aid for a minute, and that was 2005, 6, 7, 8, and then the crash happened, right? 2009. Well, what a horrible time to be a financial advisor. And every investment that I made went to about half. And at that point, I'm like, whoa, wait, I thought I was in control because I kind of put my real estate dream on hold for a minute. And I was going to, I'm building this Edward Jones thing. And like, I'm a financial advisor and I'm so smart and I help people with their money. And then I realized I had no control. The market, right? And I'm telling you, Frank, guys, I had grown like 65-year-old people come into my office where the wife comes in with her husband and the wife looks distressed and is crying. And the husband just like is in outer space zone. And he's just trembling, and they're asking the question, am I going to run out of money? And the answer is yes, right? If you keep living the same way you're doing it, your plan's screwed.
Yeah.
And of course, the advice is don't do anything. You got to weather the storm and cut your spending because you're going to need to recoup because it's half, your value's half. But what do? Nope, move me into money market. Get me out of the market. Get me out of the market. And then I have to charge them a fee to do it. And you want to talk about adding injury to insult. When you get to that point, you're just like, so at that point, I lost control. I had no control in the market. I knew that I couldn't do anything. And I feel like I'm hurting people. So my heart leaves the business. As soon as my heart leaves the business, so does my sales. Because it's a sales job, believe it or not, right? And so there was a day that I had a meeting with my supervisor at 10 o'clock, right? And I show up at 8 like I normally do for work, and my secretary can't look at me. And that's when I know it's on, right? I'm like, I'm getting ready to get canned. It's really weird. And I'm telling you, it's so funny, but this is my second big change, right? This is when I really made the move, is I knew that I was going to get fired. And I'm like, okay, now I've moved to Phoenix. I've got 2 kids. Me and my wife were married, right? And we bought this big $450,000 home that I don't even know how I'm going to pay for. And I know I'm getting canned. And so I remember sitting in my office and man, so this little kid, like the little kid inside us that believes when we're kids, we believe we can do anything we put our minds to. This little kid was saying, put me in. Like, I know what I want to do. I want to do real estate. Every book I've ever read, the guys that made the biggest upswings did it in a down market. And this is a market that we'll probably never see in this lifetime. I knew it in my heart. Yet I'm arguing with this 32-year-old guy, me, that's saying I got a wife, a kid, a mortgage. I got responsibilities. I need to play it safe. I need to make sure I can provide. And I'm proud to say in the 4 walls of that office with no one else looking, I made the most deep down, honest. I'm telling you everything that I am commitment, and I made it to myself, that I would do whatever it took to become successful in real estate. As long as it was legal and ethical, there was nothing that I was not willing to do to drive that thing and make it work. And I remember getting fired at 10 o'clock, and I was like Rocky. I'm like, now that lasted for like 5 minutes, guys.
Yeah, you're like, who's coming with me? Jerry Maguire thing. Who's coming with me?
And then because it was followed by sheer terror, because now I had to go home and tell my wife, and I had to sell this thing. And this is when my wife did me the most solid that I've ever had. She was, because I go in there, I'm like, honey, I'm going to do real estate. I don't even know how I'm going to do it yet. I don't even know how. I just told her, like, Edward Jones had taught me money, and it taught me how to network and how to hang out with people that had capital. And it gave me a lot of confidence. I had to work really hard to become a financial advisor. I door knocked every day for 2.5 years, right? Like, I knew the work, and I was willing to do it. And I'd learned about money. And so I felt like it was in so much of a great spot that I was ready. It prepared me, right? And so I go to Shelly, and luckily my wife is amazing. Frank, you know her. She was just like, do it. I believe in you. She said, I believe in you, but do not fail. Because what was on the line was everything. Our kids, our family, our marriage. Like they say, money doesn't make it work, but it sure helps. Trust me. Right?
No money making that work. So, yeah.
Yeah. So with that, I'm giving you guys, I know this, I said I was going to make it short, but this is a powerful story, man. Is that from that moment on, I went in and I was like, what do I start? I'm like, go to the REIAs, go to the Real Estate Investors Associations. But I was dumb. So I'd go to the guy running the thing and say, hey, who's the players in this room? I'm new. And he's like, this guy, that guy, that guy. Guess who's sitting by him? Me. Yo, where do you like to buy at? What's your deal look like, right? So I started wholesaling. Boom. All of a sudden I was like, will you pay me $3,000 if I can find a deal like that? They're like, yeah, of course. Boom. I'm finding 3 or 4 deals a month. I'm not even a realtor, but I'm going to find the realtor that I have a network with. I'm like, dude, you got to give me your access to your MLS because you're not going to do the work that I'm going to do, but I'm going to find these deals and you're going to write up the contract, right? So I'll let you make some win, but I'm going to do the work, man. And I'm locking stuff up, and now I'm in the game, brother. And then the next magic piece that happened to me was the money piece. So at this point, I never solved the money piece. I wanted to do it, but I just didn't have the money. And so finally, I was playing racquetball with a guy. His name's Carl, and he's an older gentleman that's retired, lived in a retirement community. And I was just asking him if he knew of anybody. I'm like, Carl, you watch me do this wholesale and stuff. I'm making like $3,000 to $4,000 a wholesale, but the guys that are doing the deals are making 25, 30, on the flips. I'm like, I just want to find someone to give me some money, and I'll pay him like 12%, give him a note deed of trust, right? And then I can do the flips. Let me know if you know anybody. And so the next day, Carl calls me. He's like, Corey, you still want to do that 12%? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, Carl found somebody. Carl's like, you don't know this, but my home's totally paid for. I can borrow money at 3. You pay me 12. I make a spread. How much money do you need? And I was like, oh gosh, this is like a loaded question. Like, how much do I?
All of it.
I'm like, yeah, all of it. Exactly the words. Carl, I need $85,000 to make this thing work. And there was like a small pause, and he's like, yeah, okay, yeah. Where do you want me to send it? And I'm telling you, my jaw hit the ground. I was like. And I will equate that moment to going into a telephone booth as Clark Kent and coming out of that son of a biscuit like, I raised private money. I came out of there as Superman. And within a year and a half, I had raised over $2 million to do single family fix and flips because I understood the value of it. And from there, the last piece of that, how I got into the multifamily space. Now we're like 2011. All the short sales and REOs are gone. But I got this money. And it's depending on me to put it to work. And so I was like, dude, I got to find a place. And I'm like, I got all this money. And I remember I drove by an apartment complex. And I used to say, I wish I could own one. Right. And that's what it was. It was a wish. And one day, magically, I drove by one and I said, how can I own an apartment complex? And the minute I framed it right, my brain started working again. I go to Barnes & Nobles. This is, I know, a foreign concept to a lot of people listening, Barnes & Nobles, right? But that's what we did back in the day. And I bought a book called Multifamily Millions by David Lindahl. And David became my mentor. He taught me the business. And I bought my first property in 2011 for $3.2 million, and I raised $1.4 million of private capital. And like Frank said, now we own like $230 million of commercial real estate. We've raised almost 95 million. But that's kind of like my hero's journey story. Hopefully that sounded good.
Dude, that was amazing, man. And I think the biggest takeaway that I got from that is that you listened to that inner voice that we all had at the most critical time, at the most critical junction, and with all the pressure, and you still went forward with it and then made it happen no matter what.
It's because I had a woman that believed in me, right?
Dude, that's so, yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't take a whole lot. You don't need a whole lot as guys. We're built weird. If you just have that one person to give you that attaboy, I got you. Because Shelly, when I would make mistakes, man, she wouldn't beat me down. She would, mend me with her words of praise, her songs of wisdom. And she would get me in that right space again and get me all squared away. And then she'd kick me back out the door and say, go get him. You're my MF, right? Like, yeah. and that's how she made me feel. And so then I wasn't afraid to fail. And because you're going to fail in this journey, you're going to have heartbreaks and upsets, and you're going to lose money. But you only really fail if you quit, because you're learning. That's like, what do you learn more from, your success or your failures? I will tell you, you learn way more from your failures, and you will get better at your craft. That's how you become an expert. And so she helped me become an expert faster.
You mentioned something pretty interesting there, Corey, and thinking about, my personal relationship, Mike's personal relationships and, our wives and things like that. I've been in a unique position hearing a lot of people are like, hey, I got to talk to my wife. I got to talk to my husband about like getting involved, investing, private lending and all these other things. For the people who are listening who have, a hard time getting their spouse on board, tell us a little bit more about your dynamic with Shell and how kind of that honesty kind of translates into y'all's business decisions, like that confidence that most people don't have in each other. Like, where can they pull that out from?
Work ethic. I think, the one thing that Shelly saw from me was my work ethic, right? She knew that I would not quit. I mean, when I left Edward Jones, I'm telling you, there was so many times that I'm up till 2:00 in the morning studying markets, looking at comps, trying to become an expert. So when the phone rang in a subdivision that I tracked, I could tell you front of the office or front of the subdivision back, 2-story, 1-story, how many square foot, granite, no granite, pool, no pool. I knew my price, right? To do that, I had to do the work, and Shelly watched me do it, right? She watched me be an Edward Jones guy that I had to door knock every day for 2 years in the heat of Arizona in a suit and tie, saying, I'm Corey Peterson, Edward Jones. I don't even have an office at this point, but my office is going to be right over here. And I'm just doing market research, want to get to know the community. From time to time, I come across investments that may make sense. Can I share it with you? What's your information? That's how I built my leads, right? Yeah. And then it was tremendous follow-up. And so Shelly had watched that part of me, and I think it gave her a little bit of confidence, right? And so if you don't have that confidence, you've got to build it. But it's really about communication, right? The one thing that we've done the best is we have been able to communicate and then not beat each other up, right? When things are not, we call it speaker listener technique, but sometimes when you have some problems or things that like, and so we'll say something like, here's a key trigger for us. I need you to hear me. When my wife says it to me, I know that what she's asked me to do is shut up and listen. Don't try to figure out the solution, but I need to really listen to her. It's like, Corey, I need you to hear me. And then she'll tell me what she's thinking and how she's feeling. And then I'm supposed to paraphrase that back to her, right? Now, we got this from our marriage counselor in our church, and it has been gold. It is a gold mine for us. So then I was like, so Shelly, what you're basically telling me is when I do this, I make you feel this, 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 and this, right? Now it's my turn, right? So she gave me a nice little lob. And so now I got to lob it back and be like, well, honey, here's how I feel when I, this, this, and this, and this. And then she's got to repeat it back to me. At this point, we've not even tried to make a solution. We may decide to table it. Okay, we're not in a place to try to solve it right now. Let's table it till tomorrow. let's think about it, meditate on it, right? And sometimes, but try not to go to bed on it, like if it's upsetting. And that's just how we've always worked. So we've always been able to find each other back quickly, right? Because I don't want to hurt her. I don't want to hurt my wife. Who would? When you love your spouse, truly love her, you don't want to do that, right? So if that's truly how they're feeling, you got to acknowledge it, and you're like, man, I don't want to make you feel that way. Like, I'm going to try to be better. I'm not going to be perfect, right? But I understand what I'm doing when I'm doing this. And that's really what helped build our relationship to be strong, for then her to give me the gift of saying, I want you to lead, Corey. And that's really what my wife's been able to do, is she goes, Corey, I want you to lead. And it's biblical, right? Truly. And,
it's always my hope, and I think, through podcasts just in general, is, everybody is in a different kind of position in their journey, different place in their journey, right? It's my hope when they hear these things that if they're going through something similar, or they're demanding respect and not sure why they got it, is to really be introspective a little bit more. I think a lot of the times we think, well, they need to support me because I'm the man of the household, like that's what I deserve, and it's like that. But if you have a track record of quitting, you have a track record of starting things and not finishing things. I had this issue with my wife too, is like, following through with the things I say. Right. I could just say things to pass it off to the next thing, but that really translates into your business as well, right? How you approach your job. If you can't be a man of your word or a woman of your word, don't expect others to respect that about you. I think that's just a fundamental rule when it comes to just your character, I guess. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And I think with you and Shelly, I know Shelly also, let's give her some credit too. She's a powerhouse lady too, right? Like she's
without a doubt.
I checked.
Yeah, if you guys ever get the opportunity, I should really call it an opportunity to meet Shelly. She is a radiant ball of light that just kind of shines or just blows you away. She's such
confident.
She's a powerful energy. But she was like pharmaceutical sales or what?
Yep. Yeah. And so, and this is the thing. She was like, listen, I'll be your 7-figure, bitch. She's like, that's how she would say it too. She's like, I'll be your 7-figure bitch, Corey. I'll let you, like, I'll do this so you can go do that. Right. And she was always willing to, like, I'll step in and do a role. Right. And I don't care. It's our money. It's our together. Here's what our plan is. Right. Where do I fit in? And that's always how we've been. Like, we've always never said we don't have separate accounts. Like we have now. I don't know. We weren't planning on going into the relationship stuff, but like, this is the truth. So we have a joint account. We have everything we have is joint, right? We'll call it, right? So we have all of our money goes into one big main account, and then we have a savings account, and then we both have sneaky accounts, right? That the joint account funds, right? Because every woman needs a sneaky account, right?
Yeah.
They
need to do like a percentage out, or is that
just a dollar amount? Like I make sure I fund it, right? So I do it a little differently now. So I make Shelly an employee of one of our companies where she gets a salary, and that's her money, and it goes into her sneaky account. It doesn't go into our joint. Normally it would go into our joint, but it's just easier to say that's your money from this thing, right? And so I don't care what you do with it. I don't even. It's so far down in my accounts that I don't even see the dollars. I don't pay attention to it. Right. And she does it whatever she wants with it. There is no got to check in. Right. And so for me, that's kind of like, but Corey gets the business account, right? Corey gets the larger account because Corey's got bigger habits. Like my wife doesn't spend money.
You're lucky.
But we find that's a way for us to really work, is that I kind of have my little sneaky account where I can go do stuff out of, and she does too. And then we have our joint account that we really manage and pay our bills and do our trips and all that stuff like that. Right. And it's worked really, really well for us. Right. And I couldn't recommend it more. I would think there'd be a lot of work. And then here's the other part. Here's the other part of that. Shelly said, Corey, there was a time when we first worked together, our first 2 or 3 years, I'm telling you, every Sunday was like a battle royale. What did you do with this $25? Like Shelly's just on my butt about the dollars. And I was like, God, this is killing me. I don't want to have this fight every Sunday going over the accounting, right? And finally, one day I was like, honey, why don't you just let it go? Like, do you trust me? Right. And she was like, oh, it was so hard for her, but she was like, you know what? Do it. And that's when I came up with this idea of the buckets, right? I was like, maybe it was a Dave Ramsey thing, but I was like, here's what I'll do, right? And just let me manage the main account. And if I screw it up, then you can come in and you can scold me. I'll take that heat, right? But if it's working and ignorance is bliss and you're getting your little piece, like, are you cool with that? She's like, listen, I'm cool with that because I don't want to fight every Sunday. And so, and then again, that was early on. This is like 22 years ago. That's when we started this. And so now, like, she has supreme confidence. I'm like, have you ever had to worry about anything in your life with money? Like, and as a man, I feel like that's my role to take that stress. I put that on my shoulders. I'm like, honey, I don't want you to worry about those types of things. You worry about taking care of our family and, setting the tone for our family unit. She's done amazing.
That's awesome. I mean, well, I think that's what's really cool about that is that you guys had that communication, because most married couples avoid that money conversation, right? I mean, there's a show on it, My Rich Life or something like that. I just saw this weekend, and everybody's just avoiding that, and you just tackled it head on, and then you found a system that works for both of you guys to be able to handle that, man.
It really is. I mean, what makes most people get in divorce? It's money.
Yeah, for sure.
It really is money. So if you can figure out how to solve that early on, and then we figured out something that works for us. The last part of this, and so I didn't want to make it about the relationship game, but is we've never tried to change each other. My wife has never asked me to be a different person, right? She accepted me for my good, my bad, and my ugly, right? And listen, when you get to know someone in the real way, right, you're like, I hate it when you do that shit.
Yeah.
But she's like, but that's what you do, right? I may or may not pull down the lid, okay, at night.
I've always admired
this, and she's like, listen, I'm just going to wipe it every time. I'm going to wipe it every time because I don't know. You're 50-50, Corey. I can't trust you. And I know I'm not going to change you.
I think one of the things I've admired most about you, Corey, is kind of like your passion behind just, the care for others and the care and the protection of the things that you are held responsible for, right? Your family's finance, your wife's happiness and things like that. And I do believe it carries into your business, right? I've invested some of your properties, we're in a mastermind together. You talk about your real estate deals. And you always come from a position of like, I got to take care of my people. I got to take care of my tribe, the people who have entrusted me with their money. Gives a little idea of like, with commercial markets kind of up and down. I know with the interest rates changing all over the place, like how have you been able to pivot around, what advice can you give to those who are hearing like, oh, right now is a terrible time to buy with interest rates this high, should they even be looking to get into commercial investing now? And, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I will tell you. So let me back up. So I'll tell you, this has been the toughest part of my real estate career is the last couple of years, right? I came right from COVID. I have a lot of student housing properties. So I had COVID. COVID really affected me during COVID in my student properties. And then all of a sudden, right now, coming out of that, all of a sudden we get hit with interest rates, right? Mm-hmm. And interest rates, it has been hard because we've had to suspend a lot of payments to investors, right? It's not been a perfect world. And those are tough conversations to have. Yet it's one of those things where it's a short-term problem. And this is the challenge. And this is really about communication with your investor pool, is that these things, this too shall pass, right? COVID's a tsunami that like you don't ever plan for that. That's just weird. That's something that happened that you would never plan for. Same thing with an interest rate hike, but you could maybe kind of foresee it a little bit, right? But in the 5-year to 7-year span of a deal, is it going to change a whole lot? Probably not, right? So I give myself that perspective when I'm thinking about these things. And so as I'm looking at real estate today, I'm saying, well, is it time to buy or not? I think it's way more closer time to buy because the fundamentals have not changed. There is still an undersupply of apartments in the right markets, we are undersupplied, right? Supply and demand does not change. Now, interest rates and things like that, if anything, high rates have made prices go where? Down, right? When do you buy? When's the best time to buy? In a down market, right? Now, okay, so interest rates are higher. You still have to make them pencil, and you can't buy them unless the bank's going to be able to lend. So you got to make deals, like sellers have to make deals pencil. So they have to sell. And there's a lot of people that have to sell too, Frank, right? There's people
That's
that have
right now, right?
Yeah. So we have so I have 4 adjustable rate mortgages, bridge loans, okay, that I bought cap rates for. And fortunately, like I'm getting rid of 2 next month, and then I got 2 more in October that we'll be able to exit from and get into permanent financing. But the only reason we can do that is because in the 2 years that we've had, we've been able to raise rents substantially. Our business plan has worked. But there's a lot of guys that have not been able to make that juice, right? And so now, and so a lot of them have the option to maybe extend their loan. So there's like a bridge loan's 2 years plus 2 1-year extensions. Well, to qualify that extension, a lot of times they're going to make you get that rate cap again, right? So we bought a rate cap on almost all my loans for like $30,000. They pay like $30,000 a month right now, right? These rate caps, right? So we had rates at 4.5, and then we bought a cap rate of 5.75. But current rates for bridge loans are like 8.7, right?
Wow.
So these cap rates are paying to buy that cap rate today. Like I get a valuation on my cap rates, and they're worth like, I don't know, $800,000, $500,000, right? So people that are having to get a new cap rate, they can't, because they can't afford $800,000 to lock in a cap rate, and so they're forced to sell. So those are opportunities. And so I would say right now, and more, like people are going as far as they can until their rates locks expire, and those are coming right now. They're already starting to come.
When do you think it's really going to hit?
End of the year.
Prediction.
End of the year, first 2 quarters of 2024.
I was just talking to Tim, I think all our friends, Tim Mai, about this yesterday. He said the exact same thing. He said at the end of this year.
Because it's 2 years, it's usually a 2-year bridge, right, with a 1-year extension. So everybody that bought, right? And so for me, like I've got one that expires in February. I'm refining in October, right? Or in August. And the great thing is now, so I get a valuation even from August until February of next year. That thing's valued at $450,000 for the rate cap that I currently have. I can sell it on the open market and get cashed out.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy, my friends, right? So I'm going to lock in a rate that's good, a permanent rate, right? Fixed rate. And then I'm going to have that, I can either take the monthly income from it, which right now that may be the better play. I think I'll make more money if I was keeping, because I don't think rates are going to change in the next 6 months a whole lot, right? Over a next year, I think so, right? Because I think we're coming into an election cycle. And so here's the play. Buy stuff right now that you can get and make sense, and you buy it at the right price, and you may have a higher rate, right? Try to structure your debt. And this is where understanding different debt. Now, you're probably not going to go like Freddie or Fannie or what's called that kind of money. But if you can find a local bank, like a regional bank, to give you where you can get out of something in a couple years without a prepayment penalty, but you still have a fixed rate, like something that you can get like a 5-7 year fixed. But with the small regional banks, after 2 years, you can easily get out, like with no prepayment penalty. Like that's how regional banks work. And so if you can get that type of loan, the play is buy it at today's rate. And in 2 more years, when rates start to come down, that I believe that's what's going to happen, right? We'll go back down. I don't think it's going to be crazy, but I think it goes back to 5, low 5s, right? So if you're buying at a 5.75 and it goes to low 5s or low, maybe high 4s. Dude, that little delta doesn't seem like a lot, but dude, it really, when you put it on millions of dollars,
that's a lot.
Makes a big difference.
So let me ask you this, man. Because there's a bunch of, SFR investors that want to go into commercial, and for whatever mindset block or whatever the case is, can't seem to make that leap. It's knowing that this next 6 to 12 months is probably a great opportunity in this class. What kind of advice would you give those guys?
Start raising money. Like, listen, the biggest block for most single family guys, right? It's not that they don't know how to do deals, right? It's that they don't know how to raise capital, right? The difference between my net worth and most other people's net worth, and why I have so many more zeros behind mine, right, is because I mastered the game of raising capital. I used to think the money was in real estate. It's not. The money, guys, the real money, the money's in the money. The ability to arbitrage capital and command it and attract it and then send it on a place that you can control and say it needs to go here, and to get that money and to be able to get it at a decent rate and drive that to the vehicle. The vehicle's real estate, right? But the thing that makes you money is, like, true wealth is the ability to raise capital. And that is something that I've spent since 2009 mastering the art of raising private money.
That's interesting. You know what the roadblock for a lot of private money, especially on SFR guys, is transitioning those SFR private money people to more of a long-term play. Because a lot of them don't want to. They want their return in 6, 8, 12 months, right? Right. What would be your goal? Would it just, you have to find other people that are more in tune with that timeline, or what would be your little nugget?
Here's how I did it. So I know the words, right? Sweet. So this is a belief problem. Okay. I would say that's BS. When you tell me stuff like that, it's BS. That is your own belief that you've bought into, and it's definitely not true in my opinion. I don't have that same belief at all, right? I think all my guys would really want to come with me because I know that they don't invest their money a full 24/7 every day of the year, right? You give me that money back and I may not have a new project for you for 30, 60, 90 days. So whatever return you think you're getting, you're not. You're lying to yourself. And when I show people that that's the real truth, and guess what you're not getting as well? Any tax benefit, right? So I show my investors how they can get a tax benefit, get their money working 24/7 passively the way they really want to, right? When they really start to see it, they're like, oh, because like it's a lot of work to give me your money to give it back, to give me your money to give it back, right? And it's, what deal are we in now? Like, God, and to get no tax, and the tax benefit alone is worth its price in gold. And people are not. So real estate, single family fix and flips, listen, you guys are in ordinary income. Just whatever you're making, you make $2 million this year, divide that by half, and you get to take $1 million. How does that feel? Because I think it feels like grabbing your ankles and bending over. Right? I don't think that feels good. And I sold the property I bought in 4 years ago. I bought it for $9 million. I kept it for 3 years and I sold it for $19 million. I made $10 million profit. I paid I had paid my investors $600K to make them whole. So I made like 9.4. I have not paid personal taxes in 5 years, I think. And I do not plan to pay taxes anytime soon. Personal taxes, right? Why? Because I understand that if you buy and hold real estate, you don't pay taxes, guys. That's 50% money. The water's warm. You need to start thinking about doing the stuff and getting all that bull crap out of your mind. Start getting to people that it's going to show you how. Because don't get me wrong, I love my single family guys. But if they're really wanting to make the switch, and which they should be buying and selling to buy long-term assets, in my opinion, right? And if they will start doing that and start playing the wealthy game the way the rich people play it, they will thank themselves time and time again. Because the only way you have passive income is when you have money coming in, each and every month from your rental properties enough to pay off all your crap, and you have a third-party management company, or you have a company where you're the CEO and you have people and staff that run it, that it doesn't require you to work, right?
Absolutely.
Corey, I got a question for you, man, because this is something that's happening in my life right now. I have a friend who is, he's been hopping around. He's been doing houses. Then he went to land. Now he's shifting into apartments. No track record. He got into a coaching program, and he's able to leverage their portfolio and experience in their pro formas as a way to attract private money. I know the reality, right? Because if he's going to be the operating manager and the actual syndicator of these deals, what would you say to someone like me who, like, when they're trying to raise money for me, I have a confidence issue of giving someone money like that, right? But that's a lot of people getting into apartments with zero experience. What advice do you have for that individual to help
I'm writing a book right now. It's called Trust But Verify, on how to vet a syndicator, right? And those are part of the questions. Is I need to understand your true background. And if it's this is risk capital, right? You got to be real smart about it. Like when you're investing your money and you want to passively invest someone's deal, you need to understand who you're investing in. What is their track record? And if they're saying, well, I'm going to do the deal with so-and-so, is he the primary sponsor? Is he running the deal? Are you running the deal? I would want to see that the other person is running the deal. Then I'd want to know all his track record, right? So you got to understand who is truly the operator of who's making the decisions, right? So I do this for my students all the time, where I'll do a deal. I have students bring me a deal. I then set it up to where I command and control the project, right? It's the only way I'll do a student deal. I have to have control, right? But they can piggyback off of me and use my credibility to help raise capital into their deal. And so
how successful is that? With just being able to leverage the expertise of somebody else, it's enough just to start raising money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, listen, I have one student that they raised $2 million, right? Now, because I was willing to get on the phone with their people, right? Like, I'm not no dummy, right? Like, there's a lot of ways to do it. And like, if you introduce me to the right people, I can absolutely show my track record and give their contacts, their leads, to confidently show that I know what I'm doing, right? So that's when we sometimes look at GP partners, that's what we're looking for, right? Is can they add value to our team, and do they have a source of people that we don't know that are the right group, and do we believe in that person, right? And so, and what happens for them, for the student, is they get to start having a track record, right? Because eventually I'm like, you need to go do your own deals. You don't need to, it's very expensive to do deals with Corey, right? Because I'm taking majority of the deal. But in the first one or two, that's maybe what you need to learn and get on, to get your experience, to run with me, to be on the calls with the property managers, to really understand all the things that work in the details.
So one of the burning questions I have, and I know you got one too, Mike, is if you could give top 2 to 3 places to like kind of network, go out there, start raising money. I know Tim, we have a mutual friend, and he's going through that process of building his network. My friend's doing the same thing right now. He's like, I'm just going through the building relationship phase right now of my business. Yeah. Is it the pickleball courts? Are you just flat out saying, hey, I'm an investor, you got money? Like, what's the best approach to where you don't give people the ick, when you're asking for money?
So you never ask people for money in the beginning. You ask who they know. Right. If I tell that story with Carl, I didn't ask Carl for money. I asked Carl who he knew. Right. And he self-selected. Right. I believe that's a great way to start when you're very new. Now, once you get seasoned, and then when someone's talking to me, we're talking about money. Right. Like we don't have to try to figure it out. Like, let me show you my deal. Here's the deal. Right. Here's what's going on. Right. But in the initial phase, when it's a little bit awkward, when you're an ugly duckling, you ask them who they know, and you want them to critically look at my thing, right? Here's my deal. I want you to look at it and give me feedback, because I want you to be able to be a referral for me. So can you critically look at my deal and poke some holes in it, right? Tell me if it sounds right.
So am I joining like a country club? Am I calling? Am I writing down the everybody in my phone?
Here's the honey holes, right? So all you got to do is follow financial advisors. So this is where me being a financial advisor for Edward Jones taught me everything about money. You hang out where money hangs out. So note to self, charity groups, right? Go find a charity that you love. Don't do it because you want to find money. Do it because you love the charity. What you find in that right charity is a bunch of business owners that do it because they love it as well. And you will, because people that do that stuff usually are business owners that make money and they want to give back to their community. I'm in a group called the Chandler Compadres. We just gave away $2 million worth of checks that we raised last year. These guys are all 7-figure business owners, right? This is my second year in the group. I got Rookie of the Year, by the way, right? Came in and the reason I got Rookie of the Year is because I rolled up my sleeves and said, where can I go? Send me, right? Send me. You need me to do something? Send me. I'll do the work, right? I also raised some money, right? But these are guys that own dealerships, that own 7-8-figure businesses, real dudes, right? Now, I've not raised $1 from this group yet, but I've also had, just because I don't feel like it's time to ask anybody yet, but I've also said, guys, hey, Corey, let me know when you got a deal coming up. Let me know, right? So it's percolating. Now I'm also doing business with this group, right? Of things that I need. Like there's some bankers in there. I'm like, oh, listen, let's do some business with you. I got an insurance guy out of it, right? So I'm building my sphere, and this time I'm doing, this is real time of joining a right group, but it starts there. You can also go, so LinkedIn is the other place. Now LinkedIn sounds weird, but and you never so note to self, do not raise money at a real estate conference.
Everybody just half the audience just was like, oh crap.
That is the most expensive place. That's smart money. There's different types of capital out there. Okay. Right. You want smart people that have dumb money. And dumb money, in my opinion, is anything that's in the stock market. Right. And we as real estate guys think that everybody's in real estate. That is so far from the truth. That is so far. Why is there brokerage firms at every corner, right? Merrill Lynch, you name it. Every bank's got a brokerage place, right? Most people have a financial advisor as their person they invest with. That's it, my friends. They do not know people like us, right? Yeah. So, and what do those guys tell all their clientele? What kind of returns do they get?
6 to 8%.
6 to 8% all day.
I found the higher net worth the individual, if you're offering them a higher return, they automatically think it's a scam or something's wrong. Automatically.
1,000. Right? Their broker trains them on this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds risky, John. Do you want to do that? You want to come out of my firm and leave? How do you going to track that? Oh, that sounds risky. Trust me, every brokerage firm, their whole goal is to keep the assets under management in their house. They do not want it to go out. That's why they say 6 to 8, because 6 to 8 is the magic number that most they can probably hit predictably, right? 12%. We would love 12%, but if that's risky. Anything above 12 is oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's the best avatar. And so I don't even call my stuff 18, 16%. I say 6 and 6. My method is called the 6 and 6 method, right? So I teach people how to raise money at 6% pref. I'm like 6%. They already heard 6 to 8, so they're like 6. I'm like, that's your paycheck. So you're going to invest in my deal. You're going to make 6%, and we're going to pay you every quarter. That's mailbox money. They're like, oh. I'm like, if it did nothing but that would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah, 6%. As a payer? Yeah, I said, but guess what? Our tenants expect rents to go up, and guess what? We never disappoint them. right? We raise the rents every year. And when we do that, we actually are raising the value of our property. And when after 5 years, we've baked the cake, we're going to sell the asset and we're going to let you participate in the profit of that sell. And we're going to usually give you another between 6 and 10% additional return for every year that you've held the deal with us. And so there's a carrot on the end. And they're like, oh my God. So, but if I told them 16% or 18% in the beginning, they're like, oh, that's risky.
Shut it off.
Yeah.
That's interesting, man. So let me ask you this. I know you run a successful mastermind and a coaching business for a while, right? So you've seen a lot of people coming in and out. What personality trait do you see in a person? I'm sure you could probably see it right away. Like, this person's going to do something, or this person might not. What is that? Can you put a finger on something that you're like, I think this person's got it?
I swear to God, I wish I could. I feel like I'm wrong more than I'm right. Right? We do this after every training event. We call them our horses. We bet on our horses.
I like that.
And I usually am wrong every time. I'm like, God, I thought this one was going to work. You know, like, the only way. Here's the thing, man. You can't predict people's success or not success. Only they will know. But I will tell you, the ones that do well are the ones that think they can. And believe they can.
Love
right.
That. Yeah.
And so there was one guy in there that came in early on. And I remember him looking at me. He goes, Corey, I have to make this work. I have to. This is my last chance. David Rosenbaum is his name. And he came in, he sat in the very front, he paid attention. He watched, taking dubious notes. That is a guy that I saw, and he was like, Corey, I'm doing this. Now, usually when someone says something like that, I'm usually like, I don't know, right? Because usually the ones that are like, yeah, this is great, I'm going to do this. And you're like, okay, well, this is one of those that fire up really good and they drop off. But he was taking notes, he was asking questions, and he was just like, Corey, I'm going to lose my marriage. I cannot fail. I have to make it work. And I unlocked some things in his mind that he didn't think was possible. And he blindly went and did it my way, didn't try to change it. And he found success. And he was like, Corey, you know, I've had him on my podcast a couple of times, and it's just always, he cries. I mean, he makes me cry.
What a great feeling, man.
Oh, dude, it's the best, dude. It's the best when you have students win like that.
Yeah.
Change their lives, change their money situation forever. The best.
I'd love to know your experience from, I hear this all the time from certain people who are like, hey, how about we do a deal together, right? We do a deal together, and then I'll pay for your coaching through the deal we do together. Or I'll pay for this after we do a deal together. I just need to learn. I just need this chance. Have you had any success with people like that? And what are your thoughts? And what advice do you have to people who think like that?
Kick rocks.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can't ever say it. Like, I'd like to be nice about it, Frank. Because I'm not a nice guy. I've just learned. I've been burnt with that story so many times. I'm like, kick rocks, bro. Like, listen, if you want it bad enough, you will find a way to find the resources, because that's what it's going to take to be successful. Is you got to be resourceful as hell in this business, and you got to find ways to win, right? And right now you need to find a way to write a check, right? And my events are not even expensive. I think I keep them relatively low, but listen, I remember when I first started, I wrote a hot check one time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
That worked out.
Well, one time,
look at me now.
One time,
3 days to figure this out.
Yeah, right. So I remember one time I went to it was a group of us, 3 of us were like, let's buy this. There's the pitch to buy something. And we're like, oh, I can't buy that, but I'm like, you want to do that? You want to do that? You want to do that? Like, let's all do it. Let's all put in our third. I was the last one to put it in, and my check bounced. And,
when there's a will, there's a way. No,
I had to make it good eventually, but
we're not advising people listen. We're not advising people here to write hot checks. All right, let's just make that a note right there. But to your point here, the reason why I love
keep it real, Frank.
I love it.
I love it, man.
The reason why I love asking
way through it, bro.
The reason why I love asking that question is because, in my over a decade of doing this, I still hear that as a trade for people. And everyone that I've worked with, high net worth, very successful people, have all heard this, and that's their response, because they've all dabbled in that. Yeah, you know what? Maybe you're different. Maybe you're different. Guess what?
I think it's a loser mentality.
It's the wrong mentality. And as Corey was saying in the very beginning, it's that perseverance. It's that person of that belief system of them knowing. And if you already are that person, there's a very, very, very high chance you're not going to ask that question. Right. Yeah. So just know that if you are, it's time to reevaluate. It's time to be introspective, and it's time to get resourceful. Okay. But that's really the most important thing of why I asked that question is, man.
After that check bounce, I got real resourceful on how I was going to make it good.
We can't borrow money from that bank again.
Yeah. Listen, can you take a payment plan?
I got one final question, man, because I know these guys. I know there's a guy out there right now going, man, I don't know how to get started. And I know that, most people are direct to market, but really in this game is broker relationships, right?
Yeah.
And especially for the guy that doesn't have track record, how would you advise that guy to get that broker to take him seriously?
So, go to the Multifamily Legacy podcast and listen to episode 2, right? Awesome. The first one is finding deals, and the next one's first episode's finding money. Second one's about finding deals. But this is easy. This is the most easiest part of the business, right? And so I'll break it down real quick. All you got to do, you can go to loopnet.com, and you're not going to look LoopNet to go to find deals. You're just going to go there to find people that are listing deals. And by the way, this is their trash can deals. These are deals you'd never do, but you just need the list of the people that are in your market that are actually listing apartments, right? And then you're going to find those guys, and then you're going to go subscribe to their list. They still are not going to know you. That's okay. They're going to start. You're going to get their trash can deals. They're going to come to your email. You're going to underwrite them. You're going to underwrite them, and then you're going to call and give feedback. And then eventually you're going to call and make sure you get a hold of that person. You're going to go take them to lunch. You're going to go into that marketplace. If you're already in the marketplace, you're just going to go have lunch. And when you go to lunch, you're going to shut up and you're going to ask questions. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your life. What do you do?
Did you hear that?
you turned into Mr. Roboto for 5 seconds, right when it got good. So
you're going to ask him this question and went.
So right when you said shut up and you're going to ask, can you repeat that for us, please?
You're going to shut up, but because you want that guy to talk, right? And all you're going to do is ask them. The questions you're going to be asking is, tell me about yourself. How long you been in the business? What places are great? What parts are bad? What should I know? And then you need to try to be what you want to try to get to the point of what do you like to do for fun, right? I'm telling you, my goal is not to figure out how badass the guy is in real estate or as a broker. He's already going to think that he's there, right? I'm going to compliment him and say, you're right, you are. You're so amazing, right? I love you. I can't believe all the stuff that you do. You're just freaking awesome. I'm not going to tell him that all his deals that he pencils are crap, right? Even though what he's been sending me is all crap, right? I'm going to stroke his ego, and I'm going to find out what he likes to do for fun. I'm going to try to find out about his kids, his family. Is he a coach? Is he doing sports? Who's his favorite team? That's the kind of stuff that I really want to know, because that becomes my open every time I call him. John, if I know he's a Cowboys fan, right, I'm going to do a little research on the Cowboys and what's going on. John, what's up? How's your Cowboys doing? I saw that they traded so-and-so. How do you feel about that? Right?
I like that.
And I'm going to spend 15 minutes talking about some shit that he wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Right?
I like that.
And then we get back to the real estate eventually, because that's what real relationships do, by the way. When you got a friend, if I call Frank, we ain't talking about business until we have a good 5-10 minutes talking about some stuff.
Probably about Shelly. Yep.
Yeah.
How y'all are doing? Probably. Yep. Your kids.
Yeah. And all that. Right. And so after that, then we go back, and that's what you do with people that you have relationships with. And you've got the goal is then to get there as humanly fast as possible, because you will not get any good deals or cherry deals or off-market deals until you get there. And once you get there, it's fair, by the way. It is an unfair advantage. When I've got a relationship, I just had a guy, his name's Chris Epp, and I got a podcast about him. He royally pissed me off because he didn't give me the deal on a deal that I should have won. And I called him up and I was like, and I was so mad that I recorded a podcast. I was like, I am so effing whatever. And then I sent it to him.
She's like, we talked about the Cowboys, man.
I started laughing. I was like, I did everything right, you know? And I was like, this was supposed to be my boy. And he thought it was so funny. And he called me up because he said, Corey, I'm going to make it right. Right. Oh, actually, on the podcast, he texted me right in the middle of it. Right. He's like, Corey, I laid it on him so hard, like he felt bad. He's like, dude, I'm gonna find you a deal. I'm gonna find you a deal. And so I ended up doing 2 deals with him. They're amazing deals.
Awesome.
And but I know what Chris likes to do for fun, man. And I like we talk, what's up, player? Right? This is Texas. What's up, player? Right? Boom. Yeah. That's
when you know
magic.
Yeah.
It's unfair.
If I can give out a book recommendation for that, because I know sometimes that charisma, right, or what the young kids say, the Riz, it's not natural to some. So How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Great book, right? Gives you an opportunity to kind of navigate those conversations towards a, successful business opportunity. And again, it's not just coming out of the gate asking for money. So if I could just summarize our call today, and then, if you have any other final remarks, Mike, feel free to jump in. But I think what I extracted from today is, one, I think you really strive through a lot of adversity to get to where you are today, and I think that's a common thing with a lot of the entrepreneurs we speak to here. And I hope that inspires a lot of people who are listening to this, regardless of what you're going through today, is to keep pushing through, but also to have that very clear vision of where you're wanting to go. 2, have someone who supports you. I think we said this on the last podcast too, is really to fan your flame, someone who knows, but also hold yourself accountable to show them and prove to them that you deserve that respect. Okay. 3, raise money. The market is shifting. You heard it from one of the guys out here who is in it every day. And within the next 6 to 12 months, yes, it's 2023. We're going into 2024. Don't go into 2024 saying, okay, I'm ready to start raising money. You are going to be late to the game. Yes. We don't have a crystal ball, but we have the closest thing to that was someone with proven experience. And I hope you can take this seriously if you guys are really considering getting into multifamily. Because I know there's a lot of you guys out there who are hearing this. You're hearing all your friends who are making money. You're turned on to it. So take it seriously. You heard it from the man, Corey himself. And then lastly, guys, is to really, really start building up those relationships, right? It's not about, just enjoy the process. And I think the opportunities will come just through that process. So that's what I got out of it. I really did enjoy my time with you today, Corey. And I think, I'll probably see you in a few months anyways. But Mike, what do you got, man?
Man, that's it, dude. I was pretty much wrote down every single thing you just said, man. So nailed it. Corey, man, appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Where can they find you, buddy?
Listen, the best way if anybody wants to learn about real estate, the multifamily stuff, go to the Multifamily Legacy podcast. Listen to the first 6 episodes. That was 4 years ago. I laid those down. It was raw. I was just starting. I wanted to teach. We've got a lot of great episodes in between, but those first 6 are magic. Those are my true teaching deals, right? You'll get a lot out of it. And then I would love to give you guys a copy of my book called Copy Your Way to Success, Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. I was a used car salesman. I was a C student, right? I was not voted most likely to succeed, but yet I found a way to do it, right? So you can get this book by texting the word book, BOOK, to 480-500-1127. So 480-500-1127. Text the word book. We'll send it to you for free.
Love it. We're going to have all that in the description so you guys can just have it there. My memory.
Well, thanks again, guys, man. We've actually went long on this show.
We did. Yeah.
But I've had a blast talking with you guys. This is something I'm so passionate about. I love you, the way you guys set this up, by the way, lots of energy. And, but I'm just telling you, I have a mission, right? I feel like I love this life. I've built an amazing life. And if I can get people to experience it a little bit, right? The water is warm. It's not easy, but it's worth it, right? And it is a wonderful journey. It's a beautiful journey. And if I can help you in any way, I'd be more than happy to do anything I can.
Awesome, brother.
I love it, man. I love it. Passion feeds passion. Surround yourself with people like that, and I think you'll start to see a lot of the. What is a high tide raises all ships or something? Is that the same?
Amen. Yeah, all boats. Yep.
Sure, man.
Yeah, all boats. So thank you guys so much for tuning in again. You guys are the reason. Guys and gals, I should say, are the reason why we take the time out of our busy schedules to make sure we create some value for you, and hopefully just brightens up your day just a little bit more. So thanks for tuning in. We look forward to having you guys and seeing you guys on the next episode. This is the REIL Talks Podcast. Signing out. Take care, everybody.
So that's a wrap. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you received value from this episode. If so, please share this podcast with your friends so we can help more people just like you. Also, hook up with us on Facebook, IG, and YouTube at REIL Talks. That's REIL Talks. So until next time, keep it cool and keep it real.